Hey y'all, it's me again, Delightful Soul. I hope everyone is doing well out there. I thank you for tuning into my channel, and let's get into this story here. After decades of accusations that he sexually abused young black women and girls, R&B singer and songwriter R. Kelly had finally been sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. The sentence come after Kelly was convicted 9 months ago on one count of racketeering and 8 counts of violating the Mann Act, which makes it a crime to transport people across state lines for any immoral purpose. Kelly used his fame and wealth to lure underage girls into his orbit, isolate them from their families, and control and abuse them. During his sentencing hearing Wednesday, U.S. District Court Judge Ann Donnelly summed up the argument that black women activists have been making for more than a decade. This case is not about sex, it's about violence and cruelty and control, Donnelly said. You left in your wake a trail of broken lives, presuming she's speaking to R. Kelly. So black women activists should be credited and thanked for pursuing the music industry to stop protecting R. Kelly and for opening our eyes about his long, sordid history of abuse against black girls. The 55-year-old Kelly, who didn't speak during the sentencing hearing, could spend the remainder of his life behind bars, a reality that didn't even seem imaginable 10 years ago.
R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison. This is a significant outcome for all victims of R. Kelly, and especially for the survivors who so bravely testified about the horrific and sadistic abuse they endured. R. Kelly is a predator. With the aid of his fame, his money, and most importantly, his inner circle, R. Kelly preyed upon children and young women for his own sexual gratification for decades. These are voices of mostly black and brown women and children that were heard and believed, and for whom justice was finally achieved. This is a victory for them, for justice, and for future survivors of sexual assault. I hope this sentencing serves as its own testimony that it doesn't matter how powerful, rich, or famous your abuser may be, or how small they may make you feel.
I started this journey 30 years ago. I was 14 years old when I encountered Robert Sylvester Kelly. There wasn't a day in my life up until this moment that I actually believed that the judicial system would come through for black and brown girls. I stand here very proud of my judicial system, very proud of my fellow survivors, and very pleased with the outcome. 30 years did he do this, and 30 years.
I personally, this happened to me a long time ago. I was 17, I'm 45 today. I never thought that I would be here to see him be held accountable for the atrocious things that he did to children. I don't know what else to say except that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for today. And I'm grateful that Robert Sylvester Kelly is away, that will stay away, and will not be able to harm anyone else.
All of my clients, who were, by the way, the majority of the victims who testified in this case, were very courageous as they testified and were cross-examined and or spoke to law enforcement or testified before a grand jury to assist in the prosecution of R. Kelly. Together, they were able to fight his power by becoming empowered young women themselves, who refused to be intimidated by him and his enablers. I am proud of all of them. And there are many sacrifices made in order to bring R. Kelly finally.
Mr. Kelly is fine. We are excited for this appeal that we are bringing. Obviously, it was a hard day. He's been sentenced to a serious sentence, but we are confident in our arguments that we raised in our post-trial motions, that although they didn't persuade the district court judge, that they will persuade the Court of Appeal, and that the Second Circuit Court of Appeals will see it that way.
R. R. Kelly's sentencing began in earnest with statements from women about long and horrifying patterns of abuse. "You took pleasure in humiliating me," one said. "You enjoyed seeing me reach new lows at your command. You are shameless, you are disgusting, and you are self-serving." Goodbye, R. Kelly. I refuse to play your songs, and for years, despite hearing you on radio, it used to make me feel like vomiting. You are filth. Thanks, Judge Ann Donnelly, for sentencing this rotten monster, this evil child abuser, to 30 years. Prison waiting for you. You can't fly anymore. What a piece of S this man is. I hope he rots in jail. Delete his music. If you have the power, tell DJs not to play him. Turn the station over if his songs come on. Wipe his work from the face of the earth. After the sentencing of the child abuser R. Kelly for 30 years, many of his fans have been comparing him to Johnny and his victims to Amber. I agree with R. Kelly's sentencing, but why weren't the parents of these children charged also? What parent takes their 14-year-old daughter to a grown man's house and just drops them off? There's no way in hell. Then Bootsy gets in his feelings and writes, R. Kelly has a fan who even was charged for allegedly threatening the prosecutors. Watching the response to R. Kelly's abuse trial and sentencing just confirms that many don't stand for any idea of right and wrong. They stand for people, compromising morality to perceive who they like as good, no matter what they do. Everyone knew early on that this activity could be possibly happening with R. Kelly, him preying on young girls, only to eventually come out that he was running a human trafficking ring. But a lot of people allowed this activity to go on because, one, they were participating, or everyone around him was gifters. And unfortunately, this activity, human trafficking, is going on now. There's a lot of missing and exploited children, particularly African American black girls, who have had cases ignored. And it was a good thing that some of the victims were able to express their gratitude for justice. This has been a long time waiting for many of them. However you feel about R. Kelly, he is very disappointing. And I don't think that a lot of people actually support what he is doing or what he has done to those young ladies. It's just that, in fact, a lot of people really enjoyed his music. I don't know if we can ever stop listening to his music, for the simple fact is that R. Kelly has reached and touched and wrote for a lot of people. Some of your favorite songs and songs that have encouraging words that bring people together, most of them are probably written by R. Kelly. And like I said, he still has supporters. What R. Kelly did to those young ladies, let's make this clear, that was wrong. And for you to jeopardize your livelihood, threatening the DA as if you were going to get out of it, is just not worth it if you cannot see that what this grown man was doing to these young ladies, trafficking them and abusing them, is wrong. His attorney even argued that because he has a low IQ, he should have lenient sentencing. I think she suggested something like 10 years. And certainly there is something wrong for a grown man to be attracted to or even wanted to hang around people who are much, much younger than him, other than family members. I believe he has low social development and the people around him as well. And yes, there are some people who blame the parents. But first, we must consider some of those young ladies' home life. Some of these young people who are trafficked, home lives may be worse. By no means am I saying that abusing these young folk is an excuse. And young people want to be accepted and liked. And that's the commonality amongst abusers, to bring you in and then isolate you. And it is best for our society to teach our young people, young boys and young girls, what to look for in a predator. Some teenagers or youth may just leave home because they're gay and they do not want to come out to their family at that point in time. However, I must say, parents are held accountable. If you are taking your 14-year-old daughter and drop them off at a grown man's house at a concert, or leaving your child to them to control their safety. And in my opinion, child endangerment should be considered. You are to protect your child at all means. But again, this does not excuse R. Kelly's behavior. However, before, during, and after the surviving R. Kelly hashtag, we have been hearing, and this is allegedly, that some parents were profiting off of the fact that their daughters were with him. And only when he decided to cut off all funds is when they had an issue with their daughter not being with them and being with R. Kelly. So all I know that enslaving someone, trafficking someone across state lines, or even the abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, all of those things are disturbing, they're not right, and they're illegal. So ladies, justice delayed is not justice denied. So for those of you who are out there and you're feeling disparaged because your abuser did not get as much time of punishment as others, everything is done for a reason and in due time. So you guys let me know what you think about this story and continue the conversation about this. So if you are able and you are in this situation of trafficking, enslavement, there's a hotline number, there's a chat, and there's a number you can text someone. And even if you know someone in this situation. So like I said, I want to hear your opinion on this particular topic. So go ahead and like this video first and then go down and comment. Tell me what you think. Share if you care. That's okay. And then I want you to go ahead and subscribe. And I really appreciate you as always for watching my channel. Bye now.